The show will be starting in 5 minutes. We'll see you guys soon. Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to YNS Live with Together Women Rise with Wendy and Barb. I am so excited for this. I cannot wait for you guys to hear this on International Women's Day of all days. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so there's a couple different things I want everyone in the audience. Welcome to everyone that's there. Rita, Cynthia, Marwan, Wendy, Ross, and Charlotte. And I know people are listening to us on many different places. So I want you guys to go down to those two little lines. Wendy, this is also for you so you can see this. This is their first time these ladies are on the platform, so I'm going to take them through a little bit. You're going to go to those two little lines and you're going to say broadcast to the world. You'll see a pop-up just like you're sending a picture to someone. And you're going to...
done.
Look at you. Look at that, right, Barb? I love it. Okay. And I have to say, I am having my simulcast for some reason is not working the way it typically does, which is a bit of a bummer, but I will be sharing this right afterwards. So if you guys are, listening to the replay and you're like, I didn't see it like I typically do, something happens behind the scenes, which happens when you're in a new app. It happens in life, right? We all can't help everything, but I broadcasted it where you guys can click if you are, you want to send it to your friends, because this is going to be a great episode and I can't wait to dive into this. Okay. So welcome again to YNS Live. I am Juliette Hahn and you are on Fireside, ladies.
It is so exciting to be here on International Women's Day. This is a huge day for us and for women all over the world.
And Juliette, I'm so excited to have you take our story out from within us, because I've been listening to your podcasts, and you just have a way about you that you know how to weave it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It is my God-given talent. It really, really is, and it's a special one. And I so enjoy this. So I'm so happy that we were connected, and Wendy and I have been talking for a long time. But the thing that's really amazing is that it all came together today on Women's International Day. So it was
I planned that. I planned that, Juliet.
I know you did. I know you did. You're good.
We call that strategic serendipity.
which is the best kind of way to be. Okay, so I want us to dive right in. Barb, I would love for you, and if you guys see me kind of go blank, because I'm behind the scenes trying to get my simulcast to work. So don't be like, is Juliet frozen? I am not frozen. I am here. But I would love, Barb, for you just to jump in and start talking to us about how you founded Together Women Rise. And then we'll get into a good conversation about this.
I'll try to keep it short. I'm afraid I could talk about that for a long time, but my life has taken a lot of back roads and detours at times. And so getting there, I think, was cumulative, beginning back with my parents and my childhood. My parents were these social advocates before it was really known. My father, a very quiet one, and my mother, a total rebel. So they made a lot of very bold parenting decisions, and they exposed my brother, sister, and I to some really unusual things. For instance, my dad, when I was 8, we lived in the suburb called Golden Valley outside of Minneapolis. And he would commute every day to the city, and he was witnessing a time in the mid-60s when people were fleeing the anxiety within the city and the racial tensions that were burgeoning, and they were fleeing to the suburbs. And he was like, well, if we wanted to be part of the solution to that problem, then we need to go live where that problem lives. And when I was 8, he moved us to the inner city. And I remember my first day of school, 3rd grade, and I came in from recess and found this note on my desk. I unfolded it, and in pencil, Diane had said, "Meet me on the playground after school." And all the girls in the class kept telling me that we were supposed to go and fight.
Oh, gosh.
And I decided to show up. I never told my parents this, and Diane didn't show up. And the next day we were like best friends. And so my dad was teaching me a lifelong lesson on how to build bridges and how to help solve problems. My mom, a few years later, I was 7th grade, and she decided that in Minneapolis, girls should not be wearing dresses to school. And the dress code was that you had to wear a dress. So, of course, she sent me to school in pants. And, of course, I was sent home by the principal, and my mom was waiting for me. And sure enough, they changed that dress code, So my mom and dad put me down that path. Then I did normal things. Like I went to college, graduated the Minnesota. I got married. I had 2 daughters. But then, wham, my life took a big detour, and I had 3 failed back surgeries in 7 months when I was 33.
Oh.
And so it left me saying, well, how do I find joy and happiness? And it took a long time, but when my neighbor invited me to an unusual birthday party in 2003, and this is after I had taken a life-altering trip to Tanzania where I met incredibly strong women. But when she invited me to that, and 25 women pooled what we would have spent going out to eat, and instead we donated it to women and girls in a program of Women for Women International that we had seen on Oprah. And we decided that we needed to do it every month. And that chapter has been meeting for every month. And I started doing the research on who we were going to send our money to, and started picking programs because I wanted to get money into the hands of women. And I knew that was really hard because in Africa, they didn't have mailboxes. So that's kind of how I got to Together Women Rise. So I know Wendy has a totally different story.
No, but that is just, I mean, I love that you said you've been listening to the podcast, because not only is it International Women's Day, so your organization, like, this is something that I would have and want to promote anyways, but your story is, and I know you said you just touched on it because it was, I'm sure it was in depth. So many different things just, made me think like, oh my gosh, like the fact that your parents, and this is what we talk about on my shows, as you know, because you listen, and anyone else that, is new here, we talk about how people follow passion and turn it into a business, or turn it into a charity, or turn it into something that's meaningful. And a lot of times we don't think of those little things that happened to us when we were children, or happened to us along the way, because they're not significant, or we don't remember. And I always tell people, and this is what I like to tell my podcast listeners. I think I just told you ladies, I just got off another recording of a podcast. And it's so awesome. And it lights me on fire when we think about those things. And you can think about very significant times in your life, right? You remember when you first moved, and Diane, and then you remember when you were in 7th grade, and then you remembered the back surgery. And so there's different things that we all need to think about in our lives. So like, this is what I want everyone to hear right now, and everyone to really think about when they sit. And this is why daydreaming is so important to me, and I believe to the world, and more people need to do it. When you daydream and really think back, and some of it's traumatic, right? Some of it doesn't feel good. But you have to think about those significant times in your life, even if they're small, and they could be the silliest thing, right? The fight that the girl said, maybe someone else would not remember that, right? They might be like, oh, I don't remember that. Like, that was so insignificant. But to you, it wasn't. And it was what's building in you what you were meant to do. The path that God or the universe, whatever you believe in, was really putting you in that path. It was like, okay, I'm going to give you these little different things because I created you, or the universe created you, and here is where we're going to do. So I love that you kind of followed what you were thinking. So I do want to go back a little bit though. So what did you go to university, and what did you study in university?
Okay, so I went to the University of Minnesota, and I always knew that I wanted to get into kind of service and helping people. So I looked at sociology, I looked at psychology. I actually ended up in a family development major with an emphasis on gerontology, or aging. And I fully wanted to run retirement communities. And I did do that early in my career, but it wasn't my calling. And after my surgery, it just kind of sent me in a totally different direction. So I worked on a master's in gerontology, but got a really nice job after a year. I regretted not getting that master's, but so it kind of led me into the nonprofit sector.
Right. And so I would also love, before Wendy, I know you're just sitting there, do you have anything to add right now? I know you've heard the story and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard this story a few times, but I always love listening to Barb, and it amazes me how from that small beginning, how large Together Women Rise has become, and all of the women that we have here in the U.S. who have their own story of why they're passionate about gender equality and women and girls, and it's our honor really to meet all of the women we meet here in the U.S., and in particular the work that's being done, and the women that are working so tirelessly to simply live freely and make a good life for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. So, another thing that Barb said that, again, is something that people hear on this podcast all the time, is that you went to school and it just didn't feel like, this is not what I wanted to do. And so many people, men and women, stay in what they are assuming they should be. And my favorite saying is, and I shouldn't say my favorite, but one of my favorite sayings is, we are not trees. We do not need to stay where we are. We need to listen to our intuition. We need to feel what we're feeling. We need to live and live out loud. And if it's something that it doesn't feel right, and you're not like, you're kind of just going through the motions, we all have one life. And so why just stay in that one life if you're not completely satisfied? And that's where the daydreaming comes in.
Oh, and when you're 63, there's an urgency in that life to do exactly what you just said. I mean, you've got to go for it.
Right, right. So I would love to, when you decided that you wanted to go into nonprofit sector, you talked about the group that you were with. What were some of the? I would love for you to kind of just take us through. And I have so many questions. We could be on this, for 5 hours, but I know not everyone has that time. But so, what were some of the, the initials? If you can kind of take us back, like you sat down, how did you create it? Like what was the process? Can you give us a little insight into that?
With Together Women Rise?
Yes.
Well, so I'm a co-founder, and my neighbor Marsha Wallace, give her tons and tons of credit because she was the one who invited this group of 25 women to her house for this birthday party, and she had heard um, read in a magazine, I think it was Real Simple, about a group of social workers that did this, but they gave the money locally. And Marcia wanted to give it globally. And that spoke to me because I had been through Tanzania and was trying to figure out how to help those women help more people. Because, like I said, I knew the money didn't get into their hands. So that night, we formed a partnership and we expected everyone just to flock to us. I mean, we such a great idea. Let's all just, everyone will want to join us, our family, our friends. And that turned out not to be really true. And I remember it took us about 3 years before we got nonprofit status, where we were like brainstorming on how do we get the word out and why isn't my so and so, coming to a chapter meeting. But slowly, people understood that this engaged form of philanthropy, because we meet, we learn about the solution that women have identified that they need help with. And we give to the most marginalized corners in the world where there are no systems of support, are very, very few. And so our funding really, really matters, and we rebuild the world one woman at a time. Um, so people started finding us, and the media discovered what a giving circle was called. And we were one. And Marcia and I never even knew we were a giving circle till we were in a published study on 60 giving circles and why philanthropy was changing. And this was, again, in the early part of the year. So after that, the media picked up on the story, and we became a darling of the media. We were in USA Today, New York Times, Oprah, Real Simple. I mean, Wendy can tell you all of them. But in 2012, we ended up on Brian Williams in the NBC News Make a Difference segment.
Yeah.
And literally, people then flocked to us because our idea spread like wildfire. It was a simple idea where one person is proven to change the world because of our model. It's about ordinary people. When you join together and multiply by thousands, what you can do in the world is just beyond imagination, and it feeds my soul every day. I probably said too much, but I get really excited.
You did not say too much at all. You did not say too much at all.
Wendy, and the great thing,
I was going to say you have something.
The great thing is that I really feel like people come to Together Women Rise because they support our mission, to achieve global gender equality, to give grants to women and girls in low-income countries, but they stay with us because of the community that they build. So we have about 400 chapters all across the U.S. Each one of them has their own unique aspect to them, but every month they're doing a similar thing. They're learning about the same project where, like Barb says, women and girls in that country are saying what they need, and they're helping create it. And we're all learning together. Many of us are sharing meals together, which is a form of fellowship that resounds around the world. And we are knowing that we are making a difference. and that community, that close-knit community that we create in our chapters, the friendships that we make, and the amazing women that we meet is what has kept our members and our chapters going for so many years. We have over 60 chapters that are 10 years or more. Yeah. I mean, this is an idea. Our the people who get involved in Together Women Rise are so passionate that they have seen us through this pandemic when, maybe our model wasn't the best one to have in terms of a global pandemic of people getting together, sharing a meal and learning together. But they transitioned to virtual and they said, no, these women and girls, they need us more than ever. And we are going to continue. And we're going to continue because we love our community that we have and we support each other. And, for women, this is such an amazing thing to be able to find your tribe, so to speak, find people who are just as passionate as you are about this cause and that want to learn together. And it's, it's an amazing thing. It's changed the lives, not only of women and girls around the world, but of the people who have gotten involved in this organization right here.
Yeah, it kind of lets us all be our best selves. And what we do really special and what magic is that our model belongs to all of us. We collaborate. We take that very, very seriously. Listening is one of the most important things we do here in the United States and around the whole world. But you also have to think of our chapters are meeting every month. They're giving 12 times a year or more. And over our lifetime, and Wendy, you'll have the current stat, but I believe now we've given over $10 million and raised it through small gifts at our chapter meetings where the average gift is only $35. So when we give a $35,000 to $50,000 grant, which is what we do on a monthly basis, that's literally coming from thousands and thousands and thousands of women. And it gives you goosebumps when you talk to the program, the grantee program staff, and they realize just what that support is coming from. It's just a sense of camaraderie that we all are craving right now.
No, it's so true. And so because I know if anyone in the audience is like me, they're thinking, well, how do I get involved? Where can people find me? So, or can they find you? So the fortune cookie right there, you guys can find, togetherwomenrise.org is the website. And then Together Women Rise is Instagram. And then also your Twitter is Together Women Rise. Correct, right?
Wendy is the expert on this.
Yeah, on Twitter, it's Together Women, as in WMN Rise, just because of the limitations on the the Twitter name.
Right.
You get creative, but I'm so proud of how this organization has come through the pandemic and created even more opportunities for people to connect with our mission and with our community. We have learned how to gather virtually to learn about the projects we're supporting, to talk about books that we're all reading, and to have special events. Like the other day, we had an International Women's Day webinar about the impact of COVID on women and girls around the world. There's just so many opportunities. Our members travel to visit the organizations that we support. And I was lucky enough several years ago to visit Rwanda and see 3 of the projects that my dollars helped to support and to meet the women and girls. And one of the most impactful moments of my life was sitting in sort of this open air tent in Rwanda with all of these women at an organization called Gardens for Health. And they get together on a regular basis, the women, to talk about their challenges and their problems and their issues. And they allowed us into that experience with them. And we also shared a meal with them. We have a dinner affirmation that talks to that idea of the fellowship of sharing food together and the connection that women have. And we read that together with these women from Rwanda. The 14 of us that were visiting from the U.S. with Together Women Rise. And it literally had us all in tears. It was just incredible, that feeling of connecting, and that we all, all women around the world have many of the same problems of loving and caring and worrying about our children and making sure that we're, providing for them and doing the best for them. And it was just an incredible experience. And every one of our members that travel and experience these journeys come back changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and the thing is, and I know everyone, and we are actually, I figured out, I got us on YouTube, so I'll be able to share that. So the thing that's really, just really makes me just so excited is to hear how excited you guys are. Like, you could feel your energy. And that's one of the things that I love. And that's one of the reasons why I love being able to have a platform to lift these sort of missions up, to lift women up, to lift, I also have men, but today is International, Women's Day. So we're talking about that.
We have men too.
We do.
Yeah. So that's what that's where I was going to turn it. So can you share that it's not just about women, it's also about men that support women?
It's always been about, it's one thing we do. Our doors are open to everyone. I've spoken before, like my parents' retirement community, and I go and the whole audience is women. And I'm like, where are the men? Because the men are essential, and we're never going to achieve gender equality without the men being a participant. We have chapters that are co-ed. We have husbands that come with their wives. My husband never came to our chapter, but he's living it, because every day for 19 years, this is what I talk about. I mean, my poor son-in-laws are all like, oh, we've got this mother-in-law that this is really important, but we have this opportunity to help bring them into the fold, because we have to do it together with men. And we blend well. We just have different talents sometimes. And in order to change how the communities and the countries are working for women, the men just have to be integral in the decision makings. And so do the women. We just have to be equal.
Well, it's just really about, and this is what I think is so important. And I've talked about this before, and I actually talked about this on one of the podcasts. It is not about, it's about the person in the heart. It doesn't matter but what their nationality is, their gender, any of that. And that's something that I really phone home, even when I teach my children. And sometimes it's hard in this world, because it's always, it's about this organization's trying to get better, and this organization saying that they, this happened. And let's just all, let's all celebrate each other's strengths and see where we can support each other, just to be a better unit as humans.
Yes.
Well, thanks.
Yes.
I mean, I'm passionate about this cause because I have a daughter, but I'm passionate about it because I have a son.
Yes.
And I love that, he has been in the background of, all these Zoom meetings I've had over the last 2 years, and, picking up, what this is all about. And of course, I've talked to him all the time about how, we are all equal, men, women, no matter what the differences are. And I hope that that's been ingrained in him, and in my daughter as well, because it's something I believe firmly. If we empowered every single woman and girl around the world, if they were truly treated equally, we would change the world. It's well known, it's documented that women and girls make a peaceful, more more healthier, safer, more economically just world. I mean, I really think that you look at what's happening in around the world today, and the conflicts that are occurring, and the challenges like climate change, and women are at the center of these, not only because they're being impacted disproportionately. Look at all the women and girls crossing the border of Ukraine right now, but because they can be the ones that are bringing the solutions. And yes, not just women, men as well, but we need to make sure that women and girls have the opportunities to be able to contribute to the solutions.
Yes.
And if you look at it, there's an old African philosopher who in the 1920s said, if you educate a man, you simply educate an individual. And if you educate a woman, you educate a whole nation. And
I love that.
we also know that women spend 90% of their earned income on their families. And when men have it, it's 30 to 40%. So, women are leading the way.
I love that. And I love that you guys, are bringing this out. But I love the initial story, but then I also want to get into like how Wendy got involved
Yes.
and a little bit of Wendy's story as well.
It's a great one.
Well, I think that Together Women Rise was sort of my next stop in my journey. I have always been sort of had a social justice conscience. In fact, I met up with an old high school classmate, hadn't seen her in 30 years. And when I told her what I was doing with Together Women Rise, she said, "Yeah, you were always into social justice." And I don't even recall that in high school being part of it, but I guess I was. But I'm originally from Canada. I lived there, born and raised there. Always had, a great awareness and interest in the world in general. That there was a greater world out there. And we moved to Greenville, South Carolina, about 15 years ago. And once I had my kids settled into school, and I was able to, have a little bit more time, I started volunteering with an organization called 10,000 Villages. They're a fair trade store, locations across the U.S. that sell products that have been purchased through fair trade practices, ensuring that there's no child labor, that they're paid fairly, and they sell these products. And they're all, a vast majority of their artisans are women. So I started to learn a little bit about what was going on with women in low-income countries around the world. And it really did open my eyes. And I've eventually, this always sort of happens to me, I went from, a volunteer in the store and ended up joining their board of directors for the local store. And Marsha Wallace, Marsha Wallace, Barb's co-founder, was on the board as well. And someone whispered to me, "Oh, she's the one that started," well, we were called Dining for Women at the time. And I kind of went, "Yeah, what's that?" Well, as soon as I heard about it, I had to get involved because it hit on every one of my passions, that, the importance of supporting women and girls, and the international side of it. I very much believe that there wasn't enough support going around the world to international organizations, and wanted to be part of that. And then, of course, getting a chance to meet people and share a meal together. It all sounded perfect. Well, I volunteered for and participated as a member for a few years, and it was about the time of my life when I was ready to go back to work, and thought that this might be a great place to work because it was following my passion, and ended up starting in a fairly small role, working 12 hours a week, being able to still pick up my kids from school and whatnot. And now today I've been with the organization for 8 years. And I can't remember a time when I wasn't involved, and just, have been able to follow my passion through this work. And so.
Yeah, something she's not telling you is that she believes so wholeheartedly in our mission that she came into our organization and we only had room for someone to help us answer the phones. That's how passionate, because Wendy's resume is like super vast. And when I was there, I was looking at her background in communications and public relations, and I'm like, oh my word. And so Wendy was quickly promoted, and she was our very first director of members, or what was that title?
Yeah, member services or something like that.
And how many years has it been now, Wendy, that you've been with us?
It's 8 years. I still can't quite believe it.
But what's so cool is that you can hear and just see the passion. But so I want people, now that I know people are also listening on YouTube, how can they get involved? So they can go to your website and they can sign up. So how does that work? Like, I'm sure people can give donations, but how do they get involved even deeper? Because I know everyone here, even if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, that's cool, because what we do, and I know as humans, we listen to something and we're like, that's neat, but we don't take action. And especially in this busy world, we don't take action enough. And there's so many, obviously so many things pulling at us that we're all, people will say, well, do you have one passion? No, I have a million passions, right? But again, it all leads us back to that universe and God where he wants our path. So it might be something that you're like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to give a donation, but I don't need to be involved all the time. But how do you know that your sister or your aunt or your husband or your brother-in-law or your neighbor, that this is not meant to be their path? So what I want you to do right now, and this is not an infomercial because I feel like I'm on the charity line. What I want you to do is after you listen to this, I want you to go to the website. I want you to look around and see. And even if you're busy, I want you to put it in your freaking notes and put it in your calendar because I want you to go back to this because this is such an important mission. This is such an important thing. Let's help these guys grow even more than they already are because as I said, they were getting a lot of recognition, but you know what? The pandemic, all the different things, and think about how the world is right now and how even more needed this organization is. So again, go to togetherwomenrise.org and start searching around. But can you guys, there's newsletters? Give us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when you go to togetherwomenrise.org, there's a tab called Join Us, and you click on that, and there's a bunch of sub-tabs, and you're going to be able to sign up for our newsletter. You're going to find information about how you can find a local chapter in your area. Just put in your zip code. Well, we'd love to have you start a new chapter. Now, chapter sounds kind of formal, like, oh my goodness, like, are there a whole bunch of...
Oh, Wendy got a call. So where you left off is...
Sorry about that. My son calling.
So the formal...
A chapter is so simple. Get a couple of friends together. Get together and we have all the materials that you can learn about and get involved with. You can join our book club events. You can travel with us. You can get involved with advocacy. There are so many ways to get involved. And I just want to say, today you turn on the news and there are so many big problems in the world. There truly are. And sometimes it's hard to figure out what you can actually do. And yes, donations are incredible, and we need your donations for sure, any amount. But here is a way that you can make a difference, but also get so much back yourself. Think of the people that you're going to meet and the community that you're going to share, the things that you're going to learn that I certainly had no idea about. Personally, I think this is one of the easiest ways to help change the world.
I love it.
Yeah. And I also want to say that we have traditional chapters there's over 400 spread across the United States, but I'm one that can't always go to a chapter meeting because of my health. And so now that one thing that came from COVID is that we were able to expand digitally and have a virtual presence. So all of a sudden I can go on demand and listen to the national chapter meetings that we've started online. And so if you're a busy person, and we know a lot of moms right now and women are extremely busy and very stressed, but it's easy to go on the website and to learn and to engage with that. Donations are always accepted. But the other big thing we're a volunteer-run organization. We have a very good staff and a new CEO coming in, but we have, almost 1,000 volunteers? I mean, that is our bread and butter, and it teaches women to step up and lead. And, so I often think that we are leading leaders. And our women are truly amazing. Our members, they all have a story that should be on this show, Juliet.
No, well, and which is not typical. I'm hoping it's not the school. Can you guys hear me? Am I back?
Yes.
Am I back? Okay.
Yes.
So, well, that's the thing I think, which is really fascinating. And that's what I love because I see that. I see where we can have some of your members on because this is what this is all about. Not just my live shows, but my Your Next Stop, which is my pre-recorded, because that's what lights my fire. So and as you guys are talking, because and we've been, as Wendy and I, we've been talking and talking and talking. But I knew that this episode was going to kind of give me a lot of foundation also, and just think about all the ways that I'm going to be able to help give back to this organization, because it is, all the time that I know when, I would love to whatever. We'll talk behind the scenes, but there's so much that you guys are doing that is so important and really close to my heart as well.
Well, and one thing that we're going through is, we've been here 19 years, and some of us have, many chapters are 10, 15-year chapters, and we're aging. So you're fresh ones, you're much younger, but a lot of us are aging, and we need the next generation to carry on and carry it further than we ever dreamed of. And we're counting on people like you, Juliet, to help move that.
Yeah. Well, as I'm like even thinking, like I was thinking like so many college age women that are, like finishing school and stuff. There's such an avenue there. And that's what also, guys in the audience, who wherever you're listening, I really want you to think about that. Like this could be a really cool thing that you donate or get one of your friends or siblings or nieces or, nephews or someone involved in this by just saying, hey, I listened to this podcast, and this is what podcasts are, right? This is why it's such a powerful medium. That's why Fireside, and I thank them all the time that they created this platform that we're able to get these stories out, and stories like yours, right? There's so many stories. We all can learn from each other's stories. We just have to listen. We have to take the time. We have to pause our bodies. Now, I am one of the, fastest moving, always on the go people. But when I sit and listen, and when I sit and do what I'm doing right now is when I'm in my peace. Right. I have my other piece is my family as well. But when I'm doing this and my brain starts going, and I know there's people in the audience right now, like specifically Bridget and Gina, that are like right now laughing because they have both been on the podcast. And I know that their brains are spinning right now going, oh, wait, okay. I know why Juliet just pinged me in here, because this is something that I also can get involved with. And I know we've had conversations where, and anyone that hasn't listened to Bridget's episode, she has it's called Beyond Beauty Project. And Bridget, I know right now you're like, oh my gosh, she's shouting me out. It is so aligned with what you guys are doing. And I can see just so many different things. Also, her mission is just amazing. And Gina has been CEO of a charity before. She has her own company. And, I'm not shouting everyone else out in here. I'm just looking around to see if I see other names. Jen is a part of Fireside. And so Jen, thank you for being here. This is, such an important message, but it's also not just the message. It shows the powerfulness of storytelling, because your story right now, people can see, see other women rise and they're like, okay, whatever, who cares? But they hear your story, and they hear your passion, and they hear what you're doing, and they hear your mission. And that's what's important. And that's what the world needs so much today. And we all need it. Not like there's people that are like, nah, I don't need it. Yeah, you do. If they sat and listened to this episode, it's going to stir something inside of them. And this is your business, your organization, what you're doing, and the businesses behind it, and the people that you can connect. That's what is needed right now. So thank you guys so much for, jumping up here. And again, I said to you, we're going to be connecting many, many different things. You guys, you're not done with me.
We look forward to that. And, there are nights, especially since we've been doing so much virtually. There are nights when, sometimes I'll go, oh, I got to get on another Zoom. And we haven't talked a lot about the grantees that we support with our donations, the grants that we give out. But every time I hear one of the representatives of our grantees tell their story, their own story, and then the stories of the women and girls that they're working with, I might start off getting on that Zoom a little tired, and by the end of it, I am fired up and energized and so inspired. It is amazing the young women that we've met that have started these nonprofits that are working around the world. Blink Now is a perfect example of a founder who went to Nepal on just a trip, and learned the difficulties that were happening in that country, and has done such incredible work for women in Nepal. And we could go on and on and on, giving you stories about these amazing people who, we just love our grantees and what they're doing, and they inspire us.
And our impact through those grantees, dovetailing on what Wendy's saying, is some of them have blossomed.
Ooh, Barb just got a call. We're all getting calls.
They've blossomed into these incredible organizations where their reach is massive. Like, for instance, 1 Acre Fund, in 2009, we donated like less than 20,000. We were probably 50 chapters or less at that time. And we wanted to train 300 women farmers in Kenya they gave them 1 acre of land and taught them to be bountiful and how to feed their families. So we were training 300 new farmers, and we took a risk and invested in their expansion into Rwanda. So I was connecting on LinkedIn with the program director, who said, "Oh yeah, thanks for your catalytic grant." I'm like, "Catalytic grant? Tell me about that." And he said, since then, they have now trained 1 million farmers, and they expanded into 7 different countries.
Oh my God, that's insane.
We have like 200 grantees, don't we, Wendy?
Yeah, we've funded well over 200 projects over the years, 250 projects, I think.
Okay, so I feel like I think you guys need to come back on. I feel like we need to do this a little bit. No, I'm not kidding. Like a little bit more. I know you guys are like, oh wait, time. Like, we're doing this, but and share those grantee stories. Like that is like another really exciting thing that we can do, and that's what I love about what I do. I love that the people that I am put in touch with, that I have this platform that I can do that and get the stories out, because those kind of stories, like when you just said that, I was like not expecting you to say 1 million.
Yeah.
Blown away. That's insane. But that's what's beautiful. Do you want to share a couple others? We have, about 5 more minutes, and then I got to go run and get the kids. But
Wait, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I wanted to say that the great thing about funding projects internationally is it doesn't take much money to make a huge impact. And so, we might look at here in the US, okay, a $50,000 grant, that's not very much, but it's unbelievable what can happen using that money internationally. And it is so, so needed. I mean, projects like, I loved Global Fund for Widows, that was, supporting widows, because when their husband dies, they often don't have, the inheritance laws don't allow them to have any income or to inherit anything. I love that story. I love the story of the founder. She's amazing. Kenya's dream is incredible. A young woman in Africa that said, no, I want to go to school. I'm not going to follow the traditional path. There's so many incredible stories, and absolutely it will. It inspires you to do more every day.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about lionesses lately, and how they reside in each of us, and it's up to each of us to bring them out. And it's time. So
I love that. Now, so on your website, can people see the grantees and hear a little bit of the story? Do you have like parts where you have the stories written out?
Yes. So go to the Learn tab, and you'll be able to see. So every single month, we feature a different grantee and a different project that we're funding. And we give all of our chapters a fact sheet, so a written fact sheet that includes quotes from the women being supported and all the information they need. And we give them a short video so they can actually see the project and where the money's going. So you can find all of that on our website. And like I said, I learned about challenges, the number of young girls that become child brides, the amount of female genital mutilation that is occurring, that these are challenges that we don't know anything about here in the US, that we're so fortunate to not have to experience. Not that these issues are not here, and not that there are not women don't have many challenges here as well, but certainly the need is very great. And there is not the financial support for women and girls globally as there is here in the US. So, a very small percentage of donated dollars goes towards this cause. And it's something that's needed more than ever. COVID has just wreaked havoc on any progress that we've made towards gender equality over in recent years, and it is going to take a while for us to get back.
But you will, because you have the hearts and you have the souls and you have the people behind you, and getting your stories out like this are just going to rebuild it, right?
Yeah.
Just rebuild it.
Wouldn't it be lovely to never have to talk about gender equality someday? Because it's already there.
Yes. And I love the clapping and the woohoo,
I
right?
love the clapping too. This is so cool.
It's so fun, right? It's such a great platform. We love Fireside. We do. Well, I am just, I'm so thankful that we, Wendy and we connected. And I remember it was from an email. It was an email that my executive producer, who I absolutely adore, finds me, different projects that I love and, or that she thinks that I would love. And she sends out emails, and that's how we got connected. But it was probably like 7 months ago, right? Or am I?
It was.
It was a while. Yeah. But I love the divine timing, right? Divine timing is everything. So I just have to thank you, Wendy and Barb. And, Barb, I know we just recently met, but Wendy had, has talked about you a million times. Like, we're going to get Barb on the show. We're going to get Barb on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And just, thank you for also supporting Your Next Stop and YNS Live. I appreciate you listening to my stories and, the people that I have on here, because that's what it's all about. It's all about us uplifting each other and just all being better. So thank you guys for joining YNS Live.
Thank you.
And, with Together Women Rise. And guys, I am not kidding. I want every single one of you down there, even if you just go and, Jen, I love how you can still talk over the applause and stuff. I have a feeling it's new. I want you guys to do is now I want you to go, and I want you to go look, if you haven't already, because I'm sure there's a million, multitaskers there that have gone to the website and are looked around, but even just sign up for the newsletter. So it reminds you to go back, right? Sign up for the newsletter. So then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I wanted to get more involved, but I had to go pick up my kids. And then I lost my brain for 4 days, which happens to all of us. So definitely go do that. Go over and sign up for the newsletter and then get involved. And Wendy and Barb, I'm going to be like FaceTiming you guys very soon because I have a million ideas. Millions.
Great.
I have no doubt. You are one of these vibrant women that fits so well in our community. And you just imagine thousands of people across the country. I mean, we can do anything when women come together.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
That is great.
Yes, we can. Well, thank you everyone for joining. And I'm going to call everyone out. Anthony, Jen, Natalie, Charlotte, Rita, Gabriel, Bridget, Cynthia, Susan, Jane, and there's Wendy and Barb, Marwan and Ross. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you're catching this on YouTube, thank you for being there. And I will share the YouTube video and tag you guys in LinkedIn and on Facebook. And again, thank you so much for joining YNS Live here on Fireside. We will see you guys next week.